Hello, and welcome to the next edition of the SEACT Interview Series. I'm Ali Valeka, the SEACT Vice President. I work at AECOM, and I have the pleasure of interviewing the one and the only Thom Cerny, also of AECOM. So Thom, why don't you tell us, we know that you work at AECOM, but what do you actually do on the day-to-day?
All right. Well, I get the opportunity to work with fine people like yourself. That's first and foremost. But my role at AECOM is as a TDM practice lead. So my job is to coordinate the various TDM activities that are going on within AECOM, both here in the US and I suppose on a global scale, and just making sure we bring the proper resources to the right places, keep clients happy, and do as great of a job as we could possibly do.
And I think I know this story, but likely a lot of our viewers don't. How did you get started in TDM?
Well, as with most people in TDM, I had no idea something like this even existed. But this is a few years ago. When I was in college, I used to race bikes. And as part of that, I was regularly invited to go speak at schools and different things like that about bike safety. And then I ended up on the city of Gainesville, Florida's bicycle advisory committee, and actually got hired by the city's engineering department in their bicycle pedestrian program to sit on corners and count bicycle movements. And this is real old school. It was with a clipboard and sheets of paper, and I would park it at various intersections for 8 hours a day and just make little clicks as to which way bikes were turning and moving and all that kind of stuff. And because of that experience during school, I learned a little bit about planning and traffic and bike ped issues and things. And when I graduated, I was looking for work and ended up getting a job at the Orlando Urban Area MPO, which is now I guess called Metroplan, as the program's first bicycle pedestrian coordinator. And did that for several years and realized that there's a lot more to TDM than just bike ped. And kind of career went from there. I went, I guess, from there to Florida Hospital, which is now part of, I guess, Adventist Health, and was set up their TDM program. Then was a TMA executive director, a planning manager at a regional or larger scale commuter assistance program in the Tampa Bay area. And then back in 1996 was hired by the consulting world with the company that's now part of AECOM.
Doesn't sound like you've done much in your career at all, Thom.
No.
All right. What's something that you're working on right now that you're really excited about in your work?
Well, I'm obviously I do enjoy what I do. I mean, all joking aside, I enjoy doing what I do and working with folks like yourselves and a lot of other great people here at the company and getting to meet a lot of really interesting clients and get to work on a lot of different interesting projects around the country. One of the advantages of being an older TDMer is, I get to throw my 2 cents in on a lot of different projects. I suppose the thing that's got me most jazzed up right now is the work I'm doing with ACT, or the Accreditation Task Force, which hopefully people will be hearing more about in the not too distant future. But what we're looking into is having ACT set up a process that would accredit organizations that are running TDM efforts to provide greater credibility for TDM, and then allow different organizations to kind of benchmark themselves as far as where they stand compared to other organizations with the same resources and budgets and things like that, with the whole goal of making all programs better. Because one of the frustrations I've had in the years I've been doing this is that there's lots of organizations that measure their impact, but no two do it exactly the same. So it's impossible to really know which ones are doing well. I mean, we all think we're doing great, but until there's some type of standardized way of evaluating performance, we're never really going to know that. And so that standardization of performance metrics is going to be a significant part of the accreditation process. So that's going to be pretty jazzed up.
Cool. All right. And now for although this has been fun, the fun part. So you're going to pick a number between 1 and 8, and I have a secret question that you're going to have to answer on the fly. So pick a number.
On the fly. I don't get to say no.
Nope. You have to answer it.
7. Lucky number 7.
If you could be a professional athlete, what sport would you play and why?
Oh, that one's actually quite easy for me. Professional cyclist. Um, so when I was in school, I wasn't very good, but in the 80s, I was just good enough to where I was able to do pro-am racing. And to get the opportunity to bump shoulders with professional cyclists again would be just a dream come true. I just didn't have the genetics to hang with those beasts, but for a few glimmers of time, I got the opportunity to race with them, and if I could do it all, that would be a fantastic experience. I'm a Tour de France junkie and watch the replays each evening and stuff like that. So professional cyclist, no doubt.
Are you excited for all of the cycling events coming up in the Olympics?
The Olympics, they don't have the luster that they used to. Okay. I just don't get I don't get as jazzed up as maybe as I did when I was a kid. I as far as the impact on the Olympics and me cycling, seeing the 1984 Olympic road race, I can still remember watching that on TV and an American winning it and like that. And
yeah, we're recording this in the middle of a storm here in Atlanta, so I'm fairly certain this storm is impacting our recording. But the good news is that we're done with the interview. Thank you so much for allowing me to interview you today, and hope everyone enjoyed this episode of the interview series.